Everybody got that?
Yep. Yeah, it's all working again. Same
Good.
spot we left it.
Right. Well, we've got to the turn of the century, so we're into 2000. And the Worth Valley, Oxenhope area, which is where the saloon is normally kept, was under being redeveloped. So the saloon actually went down to Kidderminster on the Severn Valley Railway. And if you remember, they had just built an enormous great carriage shed there at Kidderminster. And the saloon was given a home there, and it sat at the very far end, and it was a very long walk to get to it. And I don't know that many people knew that it was ever there, but it was there for 2 years before it came back to the Worth Valley, moved into the exhibition shed, but as that wasn't rail connected, nothing happened until 2005. So the first 5 years were gone. Inside, this is how it looks today. That's looking towards through the saloon. Lots of individual chairs, a little bit different in terms of layout. The bench seats have gone, both down the side and at the far end. There's a table there, and that table extends. It's got a screw mechanism, and you can extend it so that if you want a meeting with lots of people, then you can put it down in the middle, extend it out, and have a large number of people sat round. There was an Antiques Roadshow on in Belfast, and somebody brought in a table with a screw mechanism in it, which came from one of the cruise line, one of the Atlantic liners from Cunard. And I suddenly realized that what was being shown was exactly the same as we've got on the saloon. I don't think this one ever came from a ship, but certainly it operates in exactly the same way. And in the guards compartment are 4 panels, which as you extend it, you can drop the panels in to make the table up. So that's looking towards that end. Looking the other way, think back to the photograph I showed you very early on. Yeah, it's changed a little bit, but you can see the clock's still there. The table is still there. The little table with the hat and the flower vase on. And you can see through, the door is actually open beyond the settee, so you can see straight through to the kitchen at the far end, with the toilet round the back, through the guards compartment and into the kitchen at the back end. Once the railway got operating again, and I should have said, and I apologise, I forgot, one of the things that was done at Doncaster was to strip all the paint off and revarnish it, and that's the condition in which it now appears. Once the railway got operating again, it was used mainly in on the vintage train set. Here it is, with 2 Lancashire and Yorkshire coaches and one of the VCT, the Vintage Carriages Trust Mets. And we used it for cream teas. And people came on board. They had to book in advance, but we gave them a cream tea and a trip up and down the line, told them the story of the saloon. And as you can see, they had a wonderful time. This is obviously taken at Damens in the passing loop, which is the only basis on which we can have a train on the other track. 2008, the railway was visited by the Duke of Kent, and we became a royal train again. So here it is in the Ingro yard, awaiting the arrival of the royal visitor. And once that was over, it went to the National Railway Museum, where we started the saga of the Railway Children play. And in 2008, the Railway Children play was performed at the museum by the Theatre Royal in York for the first time, and the saloon was taken over and parked outside by the old goods shed opposite the miniature railway and the children's park, as part of the event, so that people could come and have a look inside and see what it was like. It also happened to be the 150th anniversary year of the birth of E. Nesbitt, who wrote the story in the first place. So the actors produced cake, publicity photographs, 150th cake in the saloon. And it started a saga which continued for the next 4 or 5 years, as you will see very shortly. In the meantime, it paid its first visit to Barrow Hill, Chesterfield, for the Peppercorn Gala. And here it is with Tornado. We managed to get it attached to most of the locomotives that were there at the time. And that photograph tends to generate questions. Well, how do you move it? You've shown pictures of it all over the place. How does it actually get there? Bearing in mind that wooden body vehicles are not allowed, prohibited from travel on the main line these days. So it's essentially by road, which shocks people. But this is how it's moved. Reed Freight are the preferred hauliers, but they don't always do it. And essentially, it's winched up onto a flatbed, up a ramp, coupled up, and then taken off. And this is on the A64 between York and the A1 on a particular trip. However, sometimes it's manpower that moves it. And here it is at Barrow Hill being shunted into the little platform that they've got there. 2010 and the Railway Children film 40th anniversary featured, and there were interviews and a press day. Of course, the one day that was chosen was one when it snowed like mad, so it was pretty cold. But the Green Dragon in its Lancashire and Yorkshire black livery and the saloon were out. Press interviews were given in the snow. It was pretty chilly and everyone was very pleased to get back on board into the warmth of the saloon or into the warmth of the cab on the engine. And that was the 40th anniversary celebrations on the railway, as part of which a chap called Jim Shipley, who was the station master at Oakworth, which is where the filming was done, produced the first copy of his book telling the story of how the film was made, the first edition. And that resulted in some press coverage. And sitting on the saloon here at Oxenhope, in the far right-hand corner is David Silito, who will be known to many of you as one of the BBC's news reporters. And he was interviewing William Mervyn's son, who has got his back to us in the sun, during the launch of the book. And in the foreground on the left, with the red tie, is the late Ken Hastwell, who was the old gentleman's butler in the film. We tracked down a number of people who'd been involved in the film, and Ken very kindly came along and joined us on this occasion. Although David Silito was doing the interview with William Mervyn's son, the cameraman was clearly not interested in the interview at all, and far more interested in the cakes and sandwiches on the table. But anyway, as is often the case, a good time was had by all. Ken, unfortunately, like many, has passed away now, but he had a good day that day. And immediately after that, we started off the saga of the Railway Children play at London Waterloo. The Theatre Royal York production at the National Railway Museum had attracted a lot of attention, and it was decided to take it to Waterloo, and it started along a relatively long association down at Waterloo in the old Eurostar terminal. Note that it says opens the 4th of July for 9 weeks only. It actually ran the first year until the 8th of January 2011. So it was getting on for six months that we were down there. And Welcome to Yorkshire sponsored the whole thing, and indeed Welcome to Yorkshire created the whole thing. Without their involvement and enthusiasm, then nothing would have happened. But we had to carry banners and all sorts to get down there. The Stirling single came down from the National Rail Museum. This is one of my worst photographs. That is not a new chimney that was fitted specially for the event. But the locomotive and the saloon were part of the play, and obviously were the train, and were based at Southall. So this is a photograph taken at Southall with Ray Towell from the NRM on the footplate of number 1. That's the real chimney, which was carried in the tender and had to be reinstalled once we got up to Waterloo. And of course, we travelled by train up to Waterloo from Southall, up the main line through Clapham Junction and up through Vauxhall and into Waterloo. I lived in Woking at the time and used to commute into London. Never did I think that I would travel on that line in the saloon into Waterloo. It was quite an experience, and one that you don't tend to forget. When you get there, when you're performing and running a play in such a prestigious place, the paparazzi are out, particularly when you get Bernard Cribbins there. And Bernard Cribbins came along. That's Marshall Lancaster, who played Perks in the first year of the play. And Bernard is passing on the porter's cap to Marshall as part of the celebrations. And you'll see there the saloon and then a Mark I stuck behind it. There were actually a couple of them. And on the back of that was an 08 shunter. And that's how the train managed to go into and out of the play, out of the theatre, which was constructed within the terminal. Bernard, of course, attracted a lot of attention. He was particularly keen to be interviewed by the female interviewers. And poor old Marshall never really got a look in. Bernard dominated the whole thing, understandably. He was the popular man. There's David Sillitoe yet again. Bernard also did a reading of the Night Mail in the saloon. At the time, QR codes were just being introduced, and the Royal Mail did a first day cover. And on that was a QR code. And if on your clunky mobile phone, you scanned the QR code, you got Bernard reading out the Night Mail poem to you, which he recorded on board in the saloon for that occasion. And this is inside the theatre itself, which was constructed within the Eurostar terminal, which of course now is being used for South West Trains services. But they created platform on either side of the running line, and that's where the performance was carried out. The seats were raked on either side, as you can see there, and the train was pushed in and pulled out as required at the end of Act 1 and at the end of the performance. There was a signal box at that end, the end where the photograph's taken from. There was an overbridge constructed. It was quite an amazing thing to be involved with, and something which certainly none of us had ever anticipated or expected. So that lasted a year. This is what had to be done every day, which was to check a fitness to run, even though it was about 100 yards that it ran. Of course, the third rail power had been switched off. Otherwise, nobody would have been wandering around down there like that. While it was there, people used it for all sorts of things. It became the VIP meeting area. This is the senior management of the Science Museum, of which the NRM is part. And that's Andrew Scott with the moustache and his senior management team. It is his successor next to him in the blue suit. And just in the corner is Steve Davis, who took over from Andrew as head of the National Rail Museum. All sorts of people used it. This was a recording. This was used by a music group. I never really found out what they got up to and what they produced. Never heard any more. But anyway, they used the saloon for their recording one night. This is Patrick Stirling's grandson, who came to visit and see his grandfather's engine with the cast, with Marshall Lancaster. This is the Department for Education, who used it for a meeting of their sustainable education group. It just so happens that my wife was responsible for that, and therefore twisted my arm to allow her to have a meeting on the saloon. And we had regular visits. The performances were in the evening. So during the day, people could come round and visit, and we'd do backstage tours and all sorts. And this is a group from the Ministry of Agriculture who came down and clearly had an enjoyable time. So it was good fun. And at the beginning of 2011, we went back to the Worth Valley in the snow, and thought, right, well, that was it. It was good fun. We enjoyed it. I had a great time. Back to the normal routine now. However, within a week, an email turned up saying, we're going to do it again. So we went back to Waterloo in the middle of May for a second season, which ran from the 18th of June until the 8th of January. And on this occasion, Marcus Brigstop was the actor who played Mr. Perks, and again, press call in the saloon because it was the Old Gentleman's Saloon and associated with it. At the end of, or beginning of 2012, it finally returned to the Worth Valley and went into the carriage and wagon shed at Oxenhope and had a quiet time for a while. One of the things about the saloon is that there's been a lot of other activity, if you can call it that, spin-offs. This is a model of the saloon. There are a number of people who've been building models. I've got a set of plans which I've been more than happy to send to people when they've contacted me. This particular one was being built and is now complete in Adelaide in Australia. And the wonders of email and electronic communication meant that I'd get a request in the morning here, deal with it during the day and get it back to Adelaide in time for the next morning. So it was very quick service. That's another photograph showing it partly complete. We've produced some special beers. There's the Old Gentleman's Saloon Pale Ale, along with Mr. Perks' Station Porter and the Green Dragon Bitter. I believe that I have the only 3 bottles of that are still in existence. I haven't dared take the top off. I dread to think what would happen when I open them. But anyway, and it's appeared in postcards and in paintings. That painting I've now managed to acquire and is hanging in the house here. So there's been lots of bits and pieces that have been produced around the saloon. In April of 2012, having thought we'd have a nice quiet time, it went back to Barrow Hill for the LNER Fab 4 event in April of that year. It was due to come back by road, but we were sat there waiting for the lorry to turn up while they got Mallard and the V2 together to take them back by rail. And I was approached and said, "Do you mind if we take it back by rail?" So I said, "No, but it's not supposed to." And they said, "Well, it's still TOPS registered. We'll do a fitness to run exam, and provided it's okay, we'll stick it on the back." I'm not sure that many people in Network Rail, or whatever it was beforehand, Rail Track, were actually aware of what was going on. And this is a photograph which you have seen, but will instantly blow itself up and disappear once I move on. Taken approaching York, behind Mallard and the V2 on its return to York. And when it got to York, it went, because it was Railfest that year, it went into the Great Hall. And for the first time since 1933, I managed to persuade the museum director that it would be a jolly good idea and an ideal opportunity, and probably the only opportunity ever, to get the two of them back together as they had originally been. This was all done away from the main Railfest activity. It was never given very much publicity, but there it is, for the first time since 1933, the two of them back together. Quiet? No. Next year, off to the North Yorkshire Moors again for its 40th anniversary gala. And it ran a number of shuttles from Pickering to Levisham, Gromont to Goathland, and 2 full-line trips during its time there. And here it is climbing the bank out of Gromont, and here at Levisham. Usual sort of thing, VIP trips, taking people up and down. But unfortunately, it got to Goathland on one of its trips, and it had to stand out of the station up in the siding beyond on the south side of the road bridge whilst the service trains passed. When it came back in, they said to me, "Well, there seems to be a bit of a problem," and showed me this. And you can see there that the fire buffer is fully in, and the one nearest the camera is fully extended. No one, of course, knew anything about how that happened or what had caused it. However, when we had a look underneath, at the end here, behind the buffers, is a horizontal spring, and it's the buffers push against that spring. So you can see there at the top, that's the essentially the end of the buffer coming through, and you can see the spring has shifted quite significantly, as a result of which there's nothing on one end, and it's fully extended at the other. So it had been very heavily shunted at some stage, but nobody knew anything about it. And you can see there, it had completely shifted across and was missing that buffer that was fully depressed completely. and that's the movement in the leaf. And that's when we got the spring out. We had to go back to the Worth Valley, managed to get the spring out because, of course, it's under tension, although it wasn't anymore. And you can see there the way in which it's all moved. The repair of the spring, that shows the buckle and, again, part of the movement. The repair of the spring was done at the Worth Valley, but they couldn't get it back in, and it fitted in under tension, and they couldn't get enough tension on it to get the spring back in. So we were left in a bit of a quandary as to what we were going to do. However, the vehicle was lifted on the jacks at Oxenhope, and we found that one of the cross beams, because it's wooden framed, one of the cross beams had sagged through old age. That should be level. And that pad there, that shows the degree with which the beam had dropped. But that pad there should be just clear of the pad below on the bogie, so that if you're standing in the vehicle, you could actually get it to rock slightly. But the way it was, because of the sag, it was sitting tight on top of the block. And it was felt that this was not really a very good thing, because it meant that when it came to a curve, it could possibly decide that it wasn't going to go round the curve and just go straight on, because it couldn't pivot because of the pressure and the weight on the block. So not only did we have to get the spring in, we had to deal with this sagging beam. And bearing in mind, we're talking 2015, 2014. So we're way over 100 years old. It's not a surprise that the beam was beginning to sag a bit. We all do with old age. So we decided to take it to Nemesis Rail at Burton-on-Trent, having stood in the exhibition shed at Oxenhope for a while. Took it down to Nemesis Rail to sort both of those problems out. While it was there, we decided that in for a penny, in for a pound, we may as well get the headstock repaired on the far end, which was quite badly split, as you can see. That's having removed it. They then fitted a new headstock. They routed out the beam, as you can see there, to take steel reinforcing, which would not necessarily straighten it, but would stop it sagging anymore. It did actually give it some lift. And there it is, being worked on with the bogies out. That photograph is taken, and I was told that I could only take a photograph looking that way, because to my right was the Coronation Scott beaver tail, which was under restoration, and under no circumstances were any photographs to be taken of that vehicle, on pain of heaven knows what else. But anyway, so down there, they did all that work, put it all back together, and it came back in 2018, after 3 years, just in time to convey the Duchess of Cornwall on a visit that she made to the railway in February of that year. And you can see the Duchess is actually sat in the left-hand rear seat on the saloon. She travelled from Haworth to Oxenhope. The journey takes about 5 minutes, and it wasn't really clear what the purpose of the visit was, because she only spent 10 minutes on the railway as a whole. But anyway, yet again, the saloon became a royal vehicle. So that was 2018, and after that it really did calm down. This was it was put into the exhibition shed at Oxenhope. We had COVID and all the rest of it, but in Christmas 2020, Christmas last year, there was a bit of a relaxation until Boris decided that Christmas wasn't going to occur after all, and it was this was part of the Christmas display in the exhibition shed with the public. And then this year, it was moved down to the Vintage Carriages Trust Museum at Ingro for a Railway Children display that they had. And you can see there the pannier tank with which it was used back in 1970. That is where it was until a fortnight ago. And a fortnight ago, it was moved up to Oakworth, where it was going to go on display in the goods shed at Oakworth, as part of the 50th anniversary celebrations of the Railway Children film, which are due to take place in August Bank Holiday. However, on the journey, there were some youths who decided to lob stones at the consist as it went up the line, and that window next to the toilet, which is just peeking out between the pannier tank and the toilet, was broken and smashed. So the saloon is now in Oakworth goods shed, awaiting the glazier to come and repair that broken window. And that is where the current story actually finishes. Externally, the saloon carries a livery that was applied in 1975. Its external structure, I'm pretty convinced, in spite of what I've shown you, dates from 1934, and the internal layout certainly from 1904. Whether after 150 years any of the 1871 vehicle actually survives is another matter. But one thing I can guarantee is that I'm not going to arrange for an archaeological survey to be done to try and find out. But that, gentlemen, is the story of the saloon through its 150 years up till immediately the current, within the last few days. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope it's been of interest. But if anybody's got any questions or anything else, more than happy to try and deal with them for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chris. Any questions for Chris?
Yeah, I've got a quick one, Chris. Right at the very beginning, the design of the carriage was a four-wheeler.
Yes.
Then became a six-wheeler.
Yep.
Then became a bogie.
Yep.
No mention was made of it changing from a four-wheeler to a six-wheeler and being extended, because it appeared to get extended from when it was a four-wheeler.
Yeah, that's right. It was a four.
You never made any mention of it. Just querying sort of what sort of period it happened with.
Well, I think I said, I hope I said, at some stage in the early 1880s, and we don't know precisely when it happened. It's not at all. I've not been able to find any indication at all of when the change took place. All I've got at the moment is 1871, when the four-wheel saloon was built, and it operated over Stainmore on the line from Teesside over to the west coast. And then the photographs that I've shown of it at Gateshead at some time between 1892 and 1904. And it's as broad as that. So sometime in the 1880s, it was converted to a six-wheeler. And then in 1904, it was converted again from 6 to 8.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. I must have missed the early bit about when it went from 4 to 6. So
Yeah.
apologies if I wasn't listening.
No, that's okay. I wish I could be precise, but I can't, because the records have not yet. I've not been able to find any records as to when that occurred. For the same reason, I don't know who had the vehicle when it was the locomotive superintendents. I know that the Worsdale brothers both did, because we've got the records show that. But whether McDonnell and Fletcher used it, it's not at all clear, I'm afraid.
Okay, right, thank you.
So are you still the sole owner of the vehicle, Chris?
Yes. Yep.
But you use what, the Vintage Carriage Trust to help you maintain it? Is that correct?
No.
No?
The maintenance, the arrangement that I have is that the day-to-day running maintenance is the responsibility of the Worth Valley. The Worth Valley are also responsible for keeping it secure and safe, and in a building which is locked and properly secure, in the sense that you can make it. For providing that, they are free to use it, as long as, out of courtesy, if they let me know, but they're free to use it as and when, for whatever purpose. And if they generate money as a result of that, then they keep that. I don't get any. But I don't then have to pay for the running repairs. So the broken window is their responsibility to deal with. So I don't have to pay for that. However, if something major happens, like we experienced with the sagging beam and the broken spring and the replacement of the beam, the buffer beam, the headstock, then we come to an agreement as to who pays what. So I can get stung if I'm not careful.
Any more questions? Bob, you're muted. Right, that's better.
Sorry, all my icons were missing. I thought you unmuted everybody.
No.
The Railway Children film is being remade again, isn't it? Are you going to be, if I've missed this, forgive me, are you going to use the carriage again? The saloon?
No. The film is, they've been on the Worth Valley during the summer doing the filming there.
Yeah.
The film is going, I don't think I'm barred from saying this, but if I am, well, I'll get my wrist slapped in due course. But the film is set during World War II. And it's about children being moved out of London to avoid the bombing and so on. And therefore it's set in the early 1940s. And it was made very clear that the saloon would not be in keeping, because of its age and because of its appearance, with that time period.
No, okay.
So it's not good. It won't appear in there, and I'm quite relaxed about that. It doesn't bother me at all. It would have been nice to have been in it again, but that's the way it's gone. That's what the film company decided. Okay.
Fine. Thank you.
Any more for any more? No? Right. Well, Chris, thank you very much for a very, very entertaining evening. who would have thought that it would have started as a four-wheel coach and ended up as a bogey coach? You know, it's a bit like Trigger's broom, isn't it? Really, three heads and two handles.
Yeah.
But no, it's got a fascinating history, and it's amazing that it's lasted so long. And I think we all owe you a huge sort of debt of thanks for keeping it going for so long. How long have you been involved in the ownership now?
Well, I've been involved in the ownership since 1975.
Wow.
What's that? 46 years? God, that sounds that sounds dreadful. Yeah, 46 years. Yeah. But I do regard, yes, I own it in that sense. But actually, bearing in mind what you've just been saying, I regard myself as the custodian. And my responsibility is to make sure that the coach survives in as good, if not better condition when I pass on. Arrangements have been made for its long-term future. So I'm quite happy about that. But I do see myself as more of a custodian rather than an owner.
Right. Well, would you like to unmute yourselves, and can we thank Chris in the normal manner, please, for an excellent evening's entertainment?
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Before you all disappear, a few quick notices. The next Zoom meeting is the 8th of September, where we've got Chris Hardy talking to us about the P2 project. But in the meantime, with Lutterworth Railway Society, we've got two outings looming up. Next Tuesday, we're going down to London for a wander around on the buses. So if anybody from Gravesend or Sears would like to join us, I did send some details out to Peter and to Henry. You're more than welcome to meet up with us. We're going to start about 11 o'clock, and I can't remember what time it finishes, but you're more than welcome to join us. If you're interested, just drop me an email and we'll arrange a suitable time for you to catch up. And really very, very timely, we're going for a visit to the Keighley and Worth Valley Railway on the 21st of August. So there we are. It wasn't deliberately arranged, that one. I think that was just fortuitous timing. So thank you all very much for joining us again, and look forward to meeting up with you all in a month's time. And if sort of Peter and Adrian could just stay at the end, we'll have a short chat. So thank you all very much, and we'll see you all in a month's time. Okay. Bye.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Good night, everybody. Good night.
Good night.
Thanks for all your help, David.
No problem. Right. I'm going to disconnect everybody other than Peter.
And Adrian.
Yeah.
And
Sorry,
Adrian.
yeah, Peter and Adrian.
David, have you seen Harry's email this evening?
No.
This came in at 20:53, and he says he's away enjoying the countryside, available any evening from the Monday the 23rd of August onwards.
Oops. Sorry, I'm just disconnecting people, and we'll nearly there.
I reckon Nigel thought he disconnected and just disconnected his video.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, it's just the three of. So when is he free?
From the 23rd.
Right. Okay. I've got quite a busy week that week. What's his availability?
Well, he says available any evening from Monday the 23rd onwards. So 23rd of August onwards.
So how are you two fixed for Monday the 23rd then in the evening?
I should be coming back from Norfolk.
Right. Okay. So we'll shift it along.
Monday and Friday are not good for me.
No. Okay.
And Wednesday lunchtimes, if we're doing a daytime, I go over to Canvey Military
Okay.
Railway.
How are we fixed for Tuesday the 24th?
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, that's okay for me.
What, in the evening? I've
Either.
got to go and see my mum during the day, so I can't do it during the day.
Yeah, doing it. I'm happy with the evening.
Shall we say nominally 7 p.m. on the
Make it a
Tuesday?
bit later. Make it 7:30.
7:30. Yeah. Okay. 7:30. So LRES, Gres, and Sears. Okay. Well, as Henry isn't here, we can't really discuss anything with him. I would like to pass on my thanks to you for allowing me to go on the walk around Southend trams with
Mr.
Delahoy. Very interesting that was.
Yeah, you're obviously a tram person as well as a railway person.
I am. I'm the acting chairman of the Tramway and Light Railway Society.
Oh, really? I didn't realise that.
Yes. So trams are a big. I don't know which one takes priority. If it runs on rails, I'm interested. That's the easiest way to sort of, I think, describe my interests.
Yeah.
It sort of overcomes those sort of problems.
Indeed. Well, I mean, Richard is well known in this area as a transport historian. He's written and he's done a number of books, both on Southend Corporation transport and also on Eastern National as well. So he's very knowledgeable about these things. And,
I've pinned him down to give us a talk to the TLRS over the winter. So
excellent, yeah.
He's a very good speaker too.
Yeah, I mean, when we were at school, he was always known as the lad who was mad on buses. So
yes, yeah, he did say buses was his first love.
Well, that's right, yeah. And,
so when are Sears going to get together face to face then?
Well, I mean, during the summer we've had a series of meetings in members' gardens on people who have railways around their gardens, and our next one is later on this month, and then we've got another one of those in the beginning of September, the 9th of September, and I think before that we are something. I can't see it on. It's the 19th of August is our next one, and then the 9th of September we're doing that. And then I'm waiting at the moment to hear back from the booking lady for the Quaker Meeting House, which is our base, as to I've suggested some dates to her for actual face-to-face meetings there, which we're aiming to restart those later in September. We had a gang out recently with taking our multi-gauge test track out from its storage location and actually erected it in the meeting house to find out what was wrong with it. Bearing in mind it's been stuck in the shed for 18 months. Remarkably, there was very little wrong with it, and we got it up and running quite quickly. So, I mean, that is sort of one of our core activities, and it's certainly something which I think, because it enables people simply to stand around and talk.
Yes, we can do that.
Yeah,
we can all do that.
Yeah, but it also, there's the excuse that they got some some models to look at, but equally they're it's an opportunity for